We have a 94 Mercury Tracer with a 1.9 liter engine in it, and we determined that it has some starter issues. So we're going to replace the starter. And first, we want to disconnect the positive battery cable. It's a 10mm wrench. If you're lucky, it comes off really easy. Shove that back down in there. And it looks like to get a little better access, we're going to remove the battery and probably this intake. I'm loosening the negative battery terminal.
You can take out the battery?
We're going to take out the battery. Alright, we already got our battery out. Now we're going to take off the intake tube. Flathead screwdriver with some hose clamps. Break it loose and twist it to break it loose off of any metal pieces, which are usually all aluminum. Just pulls right off. There's probably your temp sensors in here. So you just want to pull that one off of there, and then there's this other plug here, and it's got one of these clips that's a real pain. You want to take a screwdriver in back of it and lift that little lip up so you can pull it off of there, but it's also got a little lip on the back side too. Like that. And then you can move that whole piece of wiring harness out of your way more. And this one here, you can see it, but it's supposed to have this little zip clamp that just wraps around this harness right here and kind of holds it onto the little mount that's right below my thumb. But it's already unzipped, so you should be able to move it pretty freely and get around to get at a couple of these bolts, which are, one is right here, which is also attached to this bracket for your temp sensors on your heating lines. And you got another one right here, right underneath where that little zip for this cable is. And then there'll be one way underneath back in here that you're probably not going to be able to see. If you look right between these two tubes of the intake, you can see the back side of that starter where the solenoid is and the wires on it. I don't know if you'll be able to reach it with the camera though, like be able to get that angle. We're pointing at the back side of the solenoid for the starter here. You'll have this here, which should just pop right off of here.
And it's similar to what you got on the back of this thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, when we get the old one out, I'll show you that. But it's very, very similar.
All right. And on this side you have three bolts, right?
Yep.
And 3 size bolts on those?
The size for them is either going to be a 12 or a 13mm. Just got a 3/8 drive ratchet. It's got the little beveled end on there. It helps. It's really a tight spot. You got to work around all this stuff in here in order to get to these bolts.
And what'd you do on the back side? You cut a wire?
Yeah, if you look at the new starter, it's got this lead right here, and it says on here to don't remove the lead, you got to crimp and heat shrink to the existing lead. And so all I did back down there is right where it hooks into the plug, I just cut it with a wire cutter, and we'll strip the old wire out, put it in there, crimp it down, and heat shrink it just like it says. And it's just removing this bolt here and taking the connector off of there for the power.
So if they've been there for a long time, you might need a little cheater bar just to break it free, huh?
Maybe. And all that is just a pipe. Goes right over the end of the ratchet. A little extra leverage.
So you got 2 of them off already from that side with a combination of different extensions using a 3/8 inch and a 13mm socket, right?
Yep. and I had to use that short beveled edge 3/8 extension, and then a regular, and then a 3/8 swivel.
So whatever you got in your kit, you might be using one of everything, huh?
Pretty much. You just got to play around with them till you get the right one and get them out of there.
So you pretty much got to climb right inside of there just about, huh?
Yep, up to your elbow at least. And this back bolt here is really difficult to get enough leverage on to break it loose. But it seems that after you break all of them loose, they come out really easy. I mean, this is an original starter, so that's pretty good.
And there is the third bolt.
Yep. So this would be the one that goes through like that. And these are the two that are in like that. Wire harness is in the way.
It's wiggling down there.
Plug on the back of the block and feel. There we go.
That has been there a while.
Sure has. Here's your old one compared to your new one. It's pretty much the same setup on it, except for this part right here. Seems that it's a factory plug on there, but it's really hard to get them off of there. It's why they recommend that you just cut it and splice in the old wire into here.
Fish it in there.
Fishing. We are fishing.
Was that still there, dude?
Make sure your wiring harness doesn't get pinched in there. And there you go.
Video?
It's in there right now. I'll run some bolts in it.
Not a lot of space, but at least you can hand tighten it in there, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, this should, all you gotta do is hand tighten it in there to keep it in place. And you can work on your wires and then go back and tighten them up. That works out pretty well. But it's pretty much in there, so we'll work on your wires now.
Are you putting the third bolt in right away or not?
Nah, we'll wait, because that one's got the
Strap on it?
little bracket for the wiring harness, so we'll wait to put that one in. These two in here will keep it stationary enough. Take your wire and you put it in here to the right gauge, and it says, you know, 18 to 20, 14 to 16, 12, 10, 8, 22 gauge, all the way up there. You place your wire in there, clamps down, and then this side here closes on the other end of the wire and strips the coating off. So this is the old wire right here, and it has actually two coatings on it. There's this little protective coating here I'm twisting, and then you have your actual wire coating, which you see that I've stripped a little bit of it away, and just got to pull the rest of it off, and there's your wire, and you have to feed that into that, and then crimp this real tight.
Just taking a few strands off of there so it'll fit.
Yeah.
Because the hole size on this crimp piece is exactly the same size as the wire, so we're having a little tough time getting it in there.
It's in there, we just gotta crimp it. It's a quality steel core right there. Yep, got it crimped, and now we just got to fit this piece of shrink tube that comes on the wire with the new starter. You got to fit that over the crimp and over the rest of the little strands of wire and the old coating. Then you heat it up and it shrinks real nice and tight to everything. Tighten up the bolt on the back side, and I tighten up that second one over here.
Okay, so we got one more bolt left.
Yep, one more bolt to make sure it's tight, and we'll be...
Then the battery goes back in, and then we'll fire it up, right?
Yep, well, you got to make sure to put these two plugs back on if you took them off.
All right, got all the bolts tightened up.
Yep, I'll just check on them real quick, because after you tighten the very last one, the other two might settle a little bit, so you got to go back and kind of look at them. Okay, let's throw our battery back in. Just a little J hook on the bottom of these bolts for the battery clamp, and you just go down and just go right into there and hook up. That's all it is. There's one on the other side too, it's just longer. Just goes down. Just hooks right in that hole right there. It's already tight. This is just a 10 mil. Just to let you know.
What's this for? How long is this video?
Okay, so we had to go back and replace our brand new starter with another brand new starter because the new one we received was defective. So we have it installed, and now we're going to fire up the engine.